ended up killing this entire fucking bottle of vodka by the end of the night. We mixed it with Mountain Dew. And the next morning he woke up and he was just horribly hungover and throwing up. It had been probably 15 minutes and he still cannot drink Mountain Dew to this day.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Didn't see that.
Matt, so basically living in China, my mum was a teacher, so some of my mates had like drivers and all sorts of crazy shit. But because obviously we didn't, my parents just had to get used to me getting taxis by myself because I couldn't get anywhere any other way. We didn't have a car. So at 13, this is like a year prior to when I actually had a bit more freedom. But I don't know why my parents gave me any freedom after this incident. But I must have been in Shanghai for about 4 months, and we went to Carrefour with my mate who was my age. We went to Carrefour. We bought a litre of bottle of vodka each at 13 years old, and then decided to neck it. I passed out outside this shop in the middle of the city, but I've got family connections with the South African rugby team. Like my cousin played for them at one stage, so I was wearing a South African rugby jersey. So this random South African guy walked past, saw me like passed out, and got my phone and called my dad. And all I remember is like still to this day is like blurred like my dad's voice, and I'm being like hoisted into a taxi. And I wake up because my parents chuck me into an ice cold like bath of water, and I'm like, come back to life. And they're like, what have you been taking? And I was like, I'm just down the litre of vodka. And they're like, oh, okay, don't worry then, that's fine.
Wow. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. So
it's a great end of the story. So then my parents took me on a day trip to like some village, and I had to sit there suffering all day, and while my parents and their friends mocked me for my horrendous behaviour.
Nice.
Right,
What
and we're
horrendous
live.
behaviour is, you won't find out.
Well, we might find out some of Dan's horrendous behaviour next week after his birthday. Happy birthday, Dan. Everyone, happy birthday to Dan. Drinking beer at 8 o'clock in the morning. He's not got a problem, we promise. Happy birthday to Dan.
Not after that story.
So what are your plans for what are your plans for the day? 2, can you send us your address so Liam and Michael and I can come around and burgle your house whilst you're out?
My plan actually I don't know what my plans are. All I know is I have to be free from 10 a.m. My lovely wife has got lots of plans in store, but I haven't been told what they are. I'm not privy to those, so we'll be interested to see. The weather's not as good as it was supposed to be, so she's not very happy. So I think it had something to do with outside our house, and now it looks like it might thunderstorm. So she was fretting this morning, so I don't know what her plans are, but we'll see. I'll let you know next week what goes down.
Okay. Right. Welcome to episode 5. That's 10. 5 of the Pixel Pints podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Pre-order the next episode now, and get a free GIF of Matt doing all of the emotes that will lose him points on the quiz.
Oh my God. You know what? I didn't finish the fucking versus arcade challenge because Evan's not on the show today.
Yeah, and that's why there's no quiz as well this week.
Yeah.
But quiz for next week will be birthday and anniversary themed.
All right. Okay.
Ooh. Follow us on Twitter at pixel_pints, or follow us on Instagram at pixelpintspod. And just go around the room. How's everyone doing? Anyone got any beers or anything they like to discuss? Starting with Birthday Boy.
I have got a beer, but I'm not going to discuss it because it's going to be our next beer review beer. So I'm going to leave that till when we do that, when Evan's back on the show. But it is Kona Big Wave Ale, which is very nice, but I'm not going to give you any more than that until we do that.
Michael, how are things for you?
It's very hot here. Today we should be getting for Amazon a fan, so it'll make things a bit better.
Well, it looks like you're chilling in Night City from your virtual background.
Yeah. everyone's sweating oil in this. Yeah, it's very hot. But yeah, things are good.
Liam, how are things with you?
Yeah, it's good. Obviously don't have much going on at the minute, which is better. I like having nothing going on. So just relax. At
Well,
home.
so is that so you can try and plough your way through The Last of Us Part 2?
I haven't been playing it nearly as much as I should. I've been
Good,
wasting a
because
lot
you
of
should be
time.
playing COD with me. Matt, how's
Well,
things?
there's the catch.
I've made another trip around the sun. It's been another wonderful year. And I'm drinking some PBR tonight. And then probably Kona after we're done with this, just to do our review.
Right, and I'm okay as well. Thanks for asking, everyone. And I had my first alcoholic drink for a week yesterday. Didn't go too mad. I just had a couple of very nice beers. Adnam's Mosaic Pale Ale, very hoppy. And I had a Camden Juicy Lager, which I've talked about on our previous incarnation of the show, the Beer Umbrette. But one thing I realised about that I hadn't before, hint of tobacco flavour.
Oh, interesting.
It's interesting.
Because they use 8 different kinds of hops to give it a kind of juicy flavour, but there's a hint of... I've got a hint of tobacco from it. Either that or whoever was stacking the shelves had just had a cigarette break.
That's more likely, I think. Yeah.
Right. This week we are going to be talking about one which was meant to be a big announcement, which kind of underwhelmed, and one big announcement that well, in my opinion, absolutely delivered in bucket loads. And we're going to be talking about Marvel's Avengers and Cyberpunk 2077. And in the spirit of pre-ordering, just change my background. Here's what you can get. So I've just, for anyone listening, I've just swapped my background to the pre-order bonuses for Marvel's Avengers. Deluxe edition, because we don't do normal pre-order editions because you don't get anything from them anymore. So you can get some skins. Great. Deluxe edition.
You get to play 72 hours early as well, it says.
Yeah, and you get a free week for Marvel Ultimate. So you get 3 weeks of online Marvel Comics.
I mean,
Pass
who wouldn't
where
want
you
to play as the Hulk in different box
Yeah,
situations?
the Marvel Unlimited. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I don't know what these things are. These node things. I haven't explained what those are. They're probably XP boosters, like you get in Call of Duty and various other things now. So, did everyone watch this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Matt, you and I as kind of the core resident comic book fans.
So, I knew this was going to come to me first, and I knew that the main thing is, hey Matt, you're a video game fan. Hey Matt, you're also a comic book fan. These two things meet together on a Venn diagram, so you must be excited about this. The reality is that I am not that excited about it, partially because the Avengers video game does not look like a Jack Kirby comic book. In the event that they ever create a video game where I can make my own character and it looks like a comic book when I'm playing it, I will be super excited about it. This looks like any other game that has any number of different monetization schemes available to it. It looks like a waste of money and might be fun for some people. And that's my take on it.
Capsule review from Matthew Burkoff. Yeah, so, right, who wants to raise their hand and talk about this god-awful showing from Square Enix next?
Okay.
Dan, because you actually raised your hand.
Thanks. It just looked like a terrible, what's it called, Dynasty Warriors clone. There's like loads of hordes of people. You just punch and kick, and you press a few buttons. It does some fun things on the
A lot
screen,
less
and
enemies.
that's the end of it. Oh yeah, less enemies in Dynasty Warriors. It's true, but still, I've got no interest really after that. I thought might be doing something a bit different. Doesn't it? They are. Maybe one day I'll pick it up for $5, or if it comes free on PlayStation Plus, I might play it. But I'm not buying it at all.
This game's never going to be free.
Well, then I will never play. It will never cross my path.
Right, Michael, go.
So it's complicated because when you do this sort of model with a game, it technically I can see it mostly working for shooters, but where like shooting games allow for more possibilities gameplay wise, like you have all these moments happening, but with a game like this, like you only have a handful of characters and they all have a limited amount of moves, and it can get really repetitive fast. Like what they showed that two characters ultimate, like when they come together and do a finisher on a robot, and I think they showed that like 3 times, and each time it was the exact same thing, you know. So I'm not trying to nitpick, but like if you're going to see that, like there's not much room for like, oh, this time I actually finish that battle differently. Like there doesn't appear to be like any proper interaction with the environment. So yeah, like there are high production values. I'm not really sure if meant by what Matt meant by saying if it looked like a comic book. You mean like if it was cell shaded?
Yeah, if it would have been cell shaded, I would have been much more interested.
If they made it look cell shaded, I would have found it to be even cheaper than it looks right now.
It would have been nice if sorry for cutting in, but on the point about the team ups, the ultimate team ups, that's something that you could do in Marvel's Ultimate Avengers games. And if you use the same 2 characters, you do the same team up. So if you've got a squad of 4 characters and it was the Hulk and Miss Marvel, they'd do the big stompy thing that they show over and over again. But if you did it with, say, Iron Man and Captain America, they'd have something different. And so there is some variety there, but it will be the same thing over and over again. And then as they add more characters in, the number of team ups will grow and grow and grow.
That's the thing. Like there aren't many characters. Like with the game you mentioned, like there are so many characters, and you wouldn't expect all that much from it, but it delivers. Whereas there are like just a handful. But of course, that's not the main complaint. So. Like the graphics look good. As I said, like if they showed it to be like a cell shaded stuff, type of game, I don't know why I would. Because of course it's difficult to do both. Like I don't want to be dismissive and reductive of it, because I know, but like people, I bet people would have looked at it like, why isn't this free to play?
Why is it going to cost me £75 for this edition?
Crazy.
Plus, then I've got to pay more on top if I want different skins and emotes. Fucking emotes.
The story sounds interesting, but I'm really curious to see if it's any depth to it in reality when it launches. Because if it's just a tutorial to prepare you for the online stuff, which, by the way, I didn't really understand how it worked, because they didn't they showed co-op and some other thing, but they didn't really, unless I missed it, they didn't actually show like how it plays in multiplayer, like what you're doing. Or
so this is where I thought the presentation could have been a bit clearer. There was a couple of things that I thought were shoehorned in quite strongly. Look, we've taken inspiration from the comics. Here's the comic we took inspiration from, even though the outfit that the person is wearing in the game looks nothing like it does in the comic.
Yeah.
But look, the Hulk is wearing World War Hulk armor, and he can sniff his armpits in an emote. Give us a slap on the back and pre-fucking order now. The co-op, the actual gameplay that they showed looks stilted. Not vampire stilted, because that game's combat is so bad, it's basically unplayable. I'm actually I've started playing it, but the combat is so painfully bad. I'm just going to play it on story mode so that I can avoid playing the combat. It's not that bad, but what they showed was slow. It was so ponderous. You've got this would have been too early in development, but you've got God of War from a couple of years ago, which is kind of the pinnacle of third-person melee combat, and then you've got this, and they just look so different. There didn't seem to be. Feel free to interrupt me.
Sorry. Every single move triggers a different camera angle, which takes me out of it. Because when they showed Thor, like you automatically make the comparison to God of War, and in God of War, it wasn't that much camera angling when you were preparing to throw your axe and hitting multiple characters. But no, like in this game, it reminds you this is a video game, so we have to move the camera like very up in the air so you can see which characters you hit. Like it doesn't feel as fluid. It feels very gamey. Maybe
the thing that struck me was the total lack of impact on any of your moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why it looked like hacking.
Like there's a shader going on the surface of the character when you hit it, but like other than that, that's it.
Do you guys remember? I hate to butt in. Do you guys remember?
No, you don't.
Yeah.
It's about the only chance you get.
I'm gonna get my jab in. Do you guys remember the Fantastic Four game that came out for the PlayStation, the original PlayStation?
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Okay. Do you guys remember the original Spider-Man game that came out for the PlayStation?
I want to say
I've seen it.
I was busy playing the N64.
No, I think PlayStation 2 for me. So
the major difference between those two games was the fact that the Fantastic Four game was shit, and the Spider-Man game felt like a comic, and it was an amazing game. I feel like the Avengers in the PS4 generation is not going to quite live up to the Spider-Man PS1 game. It doesn't feel like a comic. Like, let me play the.
It's a good game though.
Let me play the comic. It might be a fun game, and I
I mean the original Spider-Man game.
Well, yeah, but I enjoyed Fantastic Four on PlayStation, right? But it wasn't a good comic book game. It was just a good game.
Matt,
but is this really a comic book game?
No.
It's
a
movie
MCU game. Yeah.
It's a movie game based on the comics.
It's a movie. It's a movie game based on the comics. That's what I'd say.
Except one quick point was that when I was watching this the other day, my wife watched a bit of it, and then we stopped, and I said, "I'm going to watch this later." And she said, "Is that meant to be Scarlett Johansson?" Because it looks nothing like her. I was like, "Yep, that's the point, because they don't want to pay likeness rights."
What about Liam Hemsworth? Do they pay him? Because I thought Thor looks the most like him.
No, it would have changed just enough so they don't have to pay him likeness rights.
He looks a lot more like the comic book version of Thor.
Yeah.
But I don't like the voice. I really don't like Thor's voice.
No. The faces look a lot better.
I love Travis Willingham. It's great.
I didn't like his voice at all.
His voice is exactly like it, like you would imagine it in the comic books.
No, not for me.
Or what he was like in the first Thor film before they sort of took out of the sort of Shakespearean language.
It's just that in a time like this, like you'd expect more from a game like this. Like this is like a last.
Not really. It's got microtransactions. It's got a grindy purposefully lengthy build so that you've got to keep playing over and over again. It's got online multiplayer that means nothing towards your story other than XP progression to get to the next grindy element. It's got all of the things that everyone wants from games, hasn't it?
Yeah.
If this was like an Arkham style type of game, that was like open world, and I like, because it's being rumored that Rocksteady is working on that Suicide Squad game, and I hope it's not this, because
I can't.
I'd be shocked
see
if
it
it
would
is,
be.
if I'm honest.
multiple characters, and I don't know how Rocksteady is going to do multiple characters like that. Like, are you going to do a GTA 5 style where you're switching between them? Like, how are you going to do this? So, like, let's cross our fingers. It's like what Rocksteady is working on is not a game as a service, because, like, it may as well be, given how many characters are involved, how many protagonists. But yeah, I was really disappointed when I realized this is going that route, because it's not open. No, it's not story. Like, it's not. The focus is not primarily on the campaign, so that's an afterthought. I do like though that you can build your hell carrier. I'm a sucker for that.
So that's where it links back. So what I took from it, because it wasn't clear, was when you play through the story, and at any point in your journey through the story, you are unlocking missions that you can play through on the multiplayer co-op campaign type, but they just look like events. So you go off and you can play these events either by yourself with AI companions, or you can play them online with your friends, or randoms, and then you gain XP, gear, perks, equipment to then take back into your part of the universe to level up your characters, earn new skins,
Well, that's the thing.
rebuild the helicarrier, all that stuff. So it does link back. So it's not a totally separate, this is multiplayer, this is your single player campaign. But it's not enough for me to give a shit.
Well, they already said that at the Game Awards when they first announced this. They're like, yeah, it's part of a multiplayer experience.
Yeah, and they're going to the thing that worries me about this is that this is going to be a long-term thing and going to add to it over time.
I think we'll go free to play.
No, there's no chance of that.
No, it's Square. There's no
Absolutely
fucking way.
They are like.
But how, if there's no one playing it, how does it go on? How do they have a robust online system?
Dan, if it's making no money from people not buying it, they'll simply scrap the whole damn thing because they can't make enough money out from microtransactions, considering they wouldn't be able to get enough people to play it. And they can't cheapen the brand name like that. It's like Avengers, but it's free to play. Like, no, that would never happen. But I feel quite differently about this game than all of you do. I think the game's number one problem is its messaging. I think the developers have been god-awful about a lot of the messaging regarding it since it got announced.
The announcement, they focused on community, didn't they? And
you've got to imagine that it's because Square Enix probably told them that this is our big cash cow. You need to really drive home the point that this game is multiplayer. The thing is, I think the problem with the marketing is that the multiplayer clearly comes second to the actual main game. And I wouldn't be surprised if this game launches and the multiplayer features are half-baked, but the single player is fine. And I'm excited for this game purely because I'm not going to play the multiplayer. I don't give a shit. I won't have enough friends to play it anyway. I'm just going to play through the single player. I'm sure it'll be fine.
I think I'm more excited about playing this with friends, but I'm not going to pay to buy it, so I won't be playing with friends. Rather than the single player.
There is no way that I'm paying full price for this game.
We've seen a trend with games like this, like they get with the Division 2, like the base game got discounted to $3, and they keep the DLCs like full price. They never discount those. So I've seen that happen a lot with games. Like, here's the base game for almost nothing, were hoping you're gonna get into this and buy the DLC. So I'm not down on this game. Like I have all these complaints, but I would play it. I would just wait for more characters. I may pick this up when they introduce Spider-Man. Hopefully, I don't know.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Yeah,
PlayStation exclusive.
So there is a huge list of Avengers who they could add. They're missing some of the notable ones, but there's the Avengers grew and disbanded and disassembled.
I think there was a leak a while ago where they put out a bunch of toys for this game, and I'm pretty sure there's like 3 more characters they haven't unveiled yet that are in this game.
Well, you've got Hawkeye from the movies, so it makes most sense to add in the ones that are missing from the movies. So you've got Hawkeye and Vision.
Vision was one of them.
I'm just thinking back to what is the zeitgeist at the moment, and it's going to be what's in from the movies.
I think if I remember correctly, it was Hawkeye, Black Panther, and Captain Marvel, which is like, how the fuck are you going to integrate Captain Marvel into this thing?
How do you play Captain Marvel? Even the films didn't have her because she was too powerful.
Exactly.
They didn't have her in the film because they're like, well, this destroys everything because she's the most powerful being. So
she was at the end of Endgame.
I know, but she destroyed shit at the end of Endgame. She literally just fucked shit up.
Right.
Well, I like how they're always like, oh no, she's got something else to do over here, so that's why she can't be in the rest of the movie, because it wouldn't be nearly as challenging if she was here.
She'll be introduced as having lost her powers, and she's.
Well, is this an opportunity for them to start introducing the X-Men? Because this is one thing that struck me when I was watching this is. This is the Marvel's Ultimate Avengers game that I've wanted since Marvel's Ultimate Avengers. No, sorry, Ultimate Alliance. I wanted Marvel Ultimate Alliance to look and play like this.
So for me,
is the X-Men back under the Disney umbrella from Sony then?
Yeah.
Because
this game was in development before that happened. So
Fox. They bought Fox. It wasn't Sony, it was Fox, wasn't it? You're right, and they bought Fox. Yeah, it makes sense.
So the game was in development before that happened, so that's why you keep seeing like Inhumans all over the place instead of X-Men. Yeah.
Right. So back in the day, there was Iron Man and X-O Manowar, and that was a game on the PlayStation, and that was a comic book video game, and it was amazing because it was one of the few comic book video games that we had. So we bought that, we played it. This game fits in the same vein. It's not going to be a good experience, but it's going to be something for somebody who likes comic books to buy and be like, oh, well, I like these characters, so I'm going to spend some money and hopefully get a few hours of entertainment out of it. I think at the end of the day, this is fucking throwaway cash grab.
Yeah, I think this game's going to be good. Like, I think the pedigree's there, Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal. Those are both competent, good game studios. I don't think Crystal Dynamics could write a story to save their lives. The new Tomb Raider games are awful, like in that regard, in my opinion. But
they would have had to have oversight from Marvel, who would have had final sign off on all the character designs, even
to be honest,
all the skins.
Coming from Crystal Dynamics, that's probably less of a hindrance. Probably a good thing.
One thing I do like about this is the fact that Miss Marvel is a primary character.
Miss Marvel's awesome.
Last thing I would say about this, how I would have done it, because it's quite intriguing. They didn't think of doing this. So you are introducing all these Inhumans, and that would allow for making your own character online, because all these Inhumans could serve like different types of combat attributes. Like one could be a healer, another one could be a ranger, another one could be, stuff like that. So I'm wondering why didn't they make it like in the new Battlefront games, where when like occasionally you get to play with a character from the movie, you know, like up until that point you're just a generic character. I don't know if people like that, but yeah, like at least the fact that there are so many people with powers now in the story, like that could maybe
I think
allow.
that the reason they didn't do that is because they tried that in the X-Men game that flopped. I can't remember the name.
X-Men Destiny.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to steer away from that because that game died. And also that doesn't
really sucks because
I'll
one
have
of,
to
the,
look it
one
up.
of the best things about playing video games, at least for me, is creating your own character. Like Skyrim, Mass Effect, like all these games, you get to create your own version of that character. X-Men Destiny failed at that, and it could have been good. It could have been a superhero game where you got to create your hero, you know?
I'd much rather just play as the existing characters, to be honest, because I'd just end up creating like a character that's a variation on like the popular character, but just doesn't have the like personality of them.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm still interested in this game. I'm less interested than I was from watching the presentation. Shall we move on to a game where we can actually create our own character and talk about it? I'll join.
Yeah.
We can sort out his genitalia size as well.
Yeah, I've joined Michael in Night City with my virtual background, but this is a pre-order bonus for the I don't know what it's called, the Night City edition. You get a statue, and you get an art book, and you get some stickers and a key ring.
How much is that going to set you back, Keith?
I think it's 140 quid.
Reasonable.
This one might be a bit more. I think it might actually be 250.
Okay,
so you can pre-order the game for $54.99, or you can get this for 250. Bargain. The statue's worth that by itself.
That's halfway to your PlayStation 5, maybe. So save your money.
Speaking of which, after this presentation, because we'll talk about the actual bits in the presentation, is any of us going to buy this and then get the free upgrade version, or are you going to wait until you get a new console and then just buy it for that?
I think the consoles I think the consoles may launch in the same month, so I don't see, because they keep saying that they keep saying when you buy it on, because maybe they think that not everyone is going to get the new consoles, which makes sense, but
it's because they want people free pre-order. I think it's pre-order bonus.
I think that's why they're pushing that. But I'll personally get it with the new console, because why not?
I don't trust playing this game on current gen consoles, not after my experiences with The Witcher 3. Like, there's just no way.
Yeah, the video
I'm not doing it.
Showed a lot of popping, like it was.
Yeah, but if you can actually get your hands on a new console, like I'm probably gonna buy this for Xbox One just because that's what I have.
I'm gonna wait, and if I can get a new console, I'll buy it for that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna play a down-resed, inferior version of this game for any length of time, and then buy a new console, get a free version, and feel like I've been playing an inferior experience for however many hours I've been playing it for.
Even then, like the game will not be taking full advantage of the new hardware. So what you'll be playing on PS5, like I don't know if it will retain all the properties of the PS. I don't know if you're going to play a PS4 game on a PS5. I don't know if that will be the case. I don't.
Well, they said, Rafa, they said that basically they're going to patch the game on PlayStation 4 to make it work with the PlayStation 5, which I imagine would mean higher frame rates, better resolution.
At least I hope that's the case.
But there's a more a more sort of complex update that they're releasing in 2021, which will actually make the game catered to those.
Yeah, add ray tracing and all that. But
yeah, so if you really want to play the less inferior experience, you'd have to wait until 2021. Yeah.
That's if it doesn't slip. Of course.
Yeah, and that's
It's already slipped twice. So and actually, as Liam said, Liam makes a great point. The Witcher 3 was buggy as hell. It's still not great. I've been trying to play through it, and I've just been hitting a brick wall against it. I've been playing it because I was like, I've never played it. I'll play it now. And I wish I'd played it before I played Horizon, because I just compare it to that game, and I just think this is an inferior piece of trash in comparison in every aspect.
I've just seen
Get
something
stuck
else.
on things. It just drives me around the bend. So
I've just seen something else,
Liam there.
Cyberpunk related, that links back to their deal with Xbox, which is you can get a Xbox 5 terabyte Cyberpunk 2077 themed external hard drive for 140 quid. Bargain. Only 140 quid.
Point of that when I'm moving to SSDs.
Yeah, why'd you buy that? They're probably just trying to get rid of what they've got left.
I'm guessing it should have come out with the Xbox One X.
Right. Yeah.
You'll still need an external hard drive to play, because they said that like you won't be able to install games from previous generations on the new SSD in the machine. So you're going to have
No. You can, Rafa, but the difference is if you use an external hard drive, you basically play the games as if they were running on an older console, essentially.
Yep.
So you don't get the benefits of using the SSD.
They basically said if you want, because it's only going to be a smaller hard drive, if you want to up your hard drive before they've released a compatible SSD to buy, you can buy a normal hard drive, but as Liam said, it won't work as effectively.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
I understand the smart delivery thing. I understand when they're saying we're going to patch it for new consoles. I don't understand why anyone other than people who are so desperate to play it, if you can possibly wait 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months, why you wouldn't just wait and get it for the hardware that it seems to be meant to be played on.
CD Projekt Red also has like a great history of like just giving people ridiculous free updates to their games. Like I remember the first few months of The Witcher 3, they made like so many updates, all for free, and then people loved them for it. So it'll probably be a vastly better game 6 months after it's released.
It really begs the question: what is the PC version going to be?
Yeah,
and whether or not the PC version is going to have any extensive patches or updates in the first 6 months. Because if the PC version doesn't, then we know that they've effectively built this game for new consoles. But if
I think so getting into the actual game that they showed, has everyone watched the I know Michael has everyone else watched the Digital Foundry video?
No, not the Digital Foundry one, just the CD Projekt Red one.
Okay, so Digital Foundry did a breakdown of the video, and they had some of the issues that Michael was talking about. So there was quite a lot of popping at certain elements. But one of the things they were most impressed by was the lighting. And not just how the world was lit, but the number of independent light sources that had either ray tracing or ambient occlusion and all the other stuff that I don't understand in it. But they were speculating that the presentation that was captured in 4K 30, true 4K 30, there is no way that would run like that on anything other than a PC at high or ultra. Right. You wouldn't be able to get that number of light sources with ray tracing.
I believe the video they received and that they analyzed, and also the clip that they showed during the event, I think that didn't include ray tracing. Am I right? I mean,
no, it did. It did include ray tracing. Yeah.
It did?
Some of it did. Some of it was actually.
Some of it didn't.
Some of it was actually running on GeForce Now, which is quite funny.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like you could technically get the game for that and play it on GeForce, and it's actually running on like if you don't have the hardware for it, that's a really good investment. And you own the game because you buy it on Steam,
Yeah.
but play it on.
I think I would say.
You mean you're
this is
not
another
purchasing it on Stadia and waiting for a year before it comes out?
It's like Stadia. It's not even launching this year on Stadia.
This is why another reason why I'm with Keith with waiting, because my PlayStation already sounds like it's taking off like an aircraft carrier playing Warzone. So I can only imagine what it will sound like playing this game.
That's why I started playing Warzone on my Xbox, because my PlayStation is the same thing, dude. Like, it seriously sounds like it's gonna fucking explode.
Do you open up your consoles to dust them off?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
when
I've
it's
used
definitely-
canned air to like clean out my.
I never dusted off my PS4 Pro since I bought it, so I think it's due some dusting.
No, I have, Rafa, and with that game it makes no difference. And it's only in the loading screen. When I'm playing the game, it settles. But when I'm in that loading screen waiting to go in a game, it's like, it's ridiculous.
I don't know who said it. I heard it somewhere a few days ago. It's because the menus in games use Flash, and it's very resource heavy. I don't know, like, but the PS4
I
Pro
think
doesn't like that.
it's loading the storefront. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's
getting all
storefront.
of those DLC packs ready.
Yeah.
So one thing that I did like about the presentation is the snippets that they showed of each of the different base character.
Yeah, the like prologues.
Yeah.
like
So
the, background.
so there was Street Kid, Nomad, and Corpo.
That's it.
And one of the things that I really liked is the little snippets of attention to detail. So if you look at the Corpo one, so you're walking into the nightclub to meet Jackie, and in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a ticker for the stock exchange.
That's awesome.
And I doubt loads of people would have noticed that, but I just thought that's a really neat little touch to say, this is, you've chosen to be corporate, and corporate is part of the culture is stock markets and business and finance. So just in the bottom right-hand corner of your HUD.
Was that
is
on the UI?
Yeah.
So does the game have a stock market then?
It must do. But it's whether or not it actually means anything, or whether it's just a little nod to the fact that you chose that base build as your starting character. I didn't notice something similar in the Nomad one that they showed.
I noticed something.
What's that?
I noticed that the character's like slang changed based like if it
Yeah.
was like Corpro, he would like speak more formally, but if it was like a street kid, he'd speak with more slang, and I thought, oh, that's so cool.
And well, that was
how many
mentioned,
times did they re-record all of the dialogue? Like what?
that was mentioned in the GameSpot breakdown as well, where
Wow.
it gives wherever you start picking your character gives you traits for dialogue. So you do actually need to follow through on you being this type of character. If you suddenly break from that, you can actually break missions and end up with game over screens, because that's not how this character would act.
Yeah,
I think
like,
that's now in an RPG that's a bit of an odd one, because you're meant to be able to play how you want, whereas this is saying if you've chosen this path,
You have to stay on that path.
you need to stay on. You can't stray too far from that path. So
they
it's
should,
not like
they should by now differentiate these terms, because like they call Assassin's Creed Odyssey an RPG, and I can see why. But like this is the real type of RPG. For instance, based off of what you were saying, it's like if you're a skinny character, you cannot go to an NPC and act all tough on it. They wouldn't have it. Like, but if you are buff, they may be scared of you. So this is where all these appearance choices you're making, because it's first person, I'm not seeing myself. No, you need to keep in mind what appearance choices you've made, because they are going to impact how other characters see you and interact with you, which is really, really interesting. So I wonder how much depth there is to that other than this
Other than
skin.
pure dialogue choices, yeah.
Yeah.
One other thing that I thought was quite impressive is some of the character models look absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah.
And what they showed of, because it is first person, but the shots that they showed of you looking in a mirror, and it actually properly mirrors the action. It's not stilted, it's not delayed. When V was wiping his hand over the mirror to clear the condensation, it actually matched the hand movement perfectly.
Yeah.
But one clever thing that was picked up by Digital Foundry was that's quite resource intensive. So how do you manage that? Well, you turn it off because mirrors turn on and off in the cyberpunk world. So when you walk up to the mirror turns on. When you walk away from it, it turns off.
That's smart.
That's very cool. Yeah.
What about
How do you manage reflections?
what about the detective mode? Have you guys talked about that at all?
No, we
Oh,
haven't
no,
yet.
Not
yet.
yet. That was one of the only things I didn't like that much.
So
No, I'm
that-
not happy. I'm not liking that.
That was the first thing that I thought of when they showed that. This is their version of detective mode from the Batman games.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally. And this
It
is
just looked quite boring.
the
It
first.
also reminded me of Becoming. Was it Becoming Human? With the stupid where you're on the scene,
Detroit
you scan
Becomes
through
Human.
the time. Detroit, that's it. True. I was like, I don't want to do this again.
Well, and
That's basically what I thought to myself.
Murdered Soul Suspect too. So if you take Murdered Soul Suspect and Batman Arkham and Detroit Become Human, and you merge all those together, and you say you are a detective, and this is the world that you live in. Like, this is cyberpunk, and it has all of those mechanics.
Matt's phone's drunk. Sorry, Dan's phone's drunk.
Sorry.
Yeah, my phone is
Yeah.
not drunk. I'm quite sober, actually. So
So there.
Don't get any ideas, Matt. You're not going to ruin another birthday episode.
no, this is a good one. I'm trying to actually have a poignant discussion about the mechanics that they've showed us. This is like the new mechanic that they've introduced. Do we want to talk about, like, are we giving Cyberpunk or CD Projekt Red, are we giving them like a score based on their...
We can do it at the end, but that's it. One, I think picking up on what Liam said, that this is potentially going to be really boring. What they showed was looking pretty dull. I think when you actually do it yourself, it's going to be more
Hope so.
interesting.
Yeah,
Although
so
I did read a preview from somebody who wasn't too happy with it, which I was like, no, it's like confirming my worst fears.
It also depends on how much you've got to do with it.
Yes, that's kind of
it
right.
does. It
If you have
does.
to-
Well, to
Also,
be fair,
can you
like the
choose to do
person
it?
played 5 hours of the game and they said they only did it twice. So
And part of that
Okay.
was the tutorial for that mode.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So really, they only played it once.
Right.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
So
and I think it could be if you're talking about this kind of net runner. If someone wants to do a build as a net runner, this is going to be quite integral to you discovering things in the world.
right.
So I think it's actually a neat way of.
If they do a good job and get you invested with the story, which most of the time it happened in The Witcher 3, and you cared for most of the side quests, like, you will not think of this feature as something that is halting the pacing of the game. I think you'll organically be interested in doing that so that you make the best decisions. So it won't be like, oh, now you have to enter this mode, like you're thrown in there. No, you'll be like, oh, I can go in guns blazing, but let me see all the details. Like you'll be given the choice not to use that, and I think this is why it will be tempting to use this feature. Because at first I also thought, like, okay, this is slow. I don't really want to be doing this, but in the same time, I know I shouldn't be playing this game like Far Cry. And yeah, I think it will blend well with everyone's style of gameplay.
Yeah, and if you wanted to play it like Far Cry, apparently you can. You've just got to spec out your character like that.
Right.
But it may not make as much sense in the world.
Yeah, you won't get as much stuff narrative wise.
We'll have to see how people get on with it. One thing that I would say about this is it whether or not you have to do these things, or they're a choice. It depends on whether or not. Say if someone, it would be interesting to see if you could do this as a pacifist run. So as opposed to going, the mission is to, in like a Dishonored type way, get rid of this person. Now you can choose to physically kill them by throwing them out of their penthouse apartment window. I'm just making that up. I don't know. Or you can do one of these kind of link to the brain link activity things and find out something nefarious about them and grass them up to the authorities.
On social media.
Yeah. and then the video game that they're making in Cyberpunk 2077 gets review bombed and gets cancelled because of social media pressure. There you go. There's another storyline that is bound to be in that game.
Yeah. I think so. Like the presentation that they gave was kind of boring, so I fell asleep while they were explaining it. But when I listened to everybody else, all like GameSpot and IGN and everybody, and they're like, "Oh, this is our experience playing the game, and you have one of 3 paths to start off with, and like this is how you interact with the game, and it is a full-on fucking RPG." I was like, "Oh, I'm way more into this than I would have normally been," and the detective mode is just icing on the top, because I expected a full first-person FPS RPG, but now you're giving me Batman Arkham on top of that. Like, that's fucking amazing. The fact that they presented it like that, though, and like, this is what we're talking about, and this is going to be the thing that you want to listen to us for, that I wasn't so keen on. Because I was like, I don't really care that you're showing me this for the next hour,
I thought the presentation was really good. Like, I really enjoyed how it's just like sort of like given all of the information you need. Showed all.
I didn't enjoy the presentation.
I liked about it because it was like just 30 minutes,
but,
and it seemed to respect
what
your
grade
time.
would we give it?
I just thought it was just overdone, and I liked listening to people's thoughts on the game afterwards. I went around to a few different sources to see what everyone thought of it. I enjoyed that much more, so I'm glad they did do that. Let journalists get a hold of it. That was much more informative. I thought I could have just skipped the.
Yeah, I think it was a B-. Personally,
It was like a solid A. I just it's just people have been watching so many stupid presentations after the last few weeks, and very few of them respect your time. It's just like this one. Yeah, come in, 30 minutes, you're out. You've got all the information you need. Watch the previews when you have time.
Yeah, it was obviously
even the Avengers
scripted.
one. Yeah, even the Avengers one took way too long giving out information than this one did. It's like,
I'm
great.
giving
I'll
it a
sit here and
B-.
watch indie game trailers for 2 hours of my fucking time in the hopes that they announce something of any interest. Whereas I come to this presentation, it's like, oh, look, here's the gameplay trailer straight off the top. Yeah, here's a bigger deep dive into the game. Here's the developer explaining it. Here's an anime that we're putting out in 2 years, and now, a deeper dive into that new gameplay system. Okay,
I thought announcing the anime was probably the only thing that was a bit needless.
But they didn't take too long. They just sort of explained it and then moved on to the next thing.
Yeah, I think only that section only lasted for about 3 or 4 minutes. So
if it was EA, it would have been 30 minutes.
It wasn't a bad. It wasn't a bad event, but when comparing it to the other showings, I think it didn't have much in it. Maybe I'm wrong, so that's why I'm scoring it a bit lower this time. I was impressed with how much world there is to it. Like you have all these outskirts.
Yeah, I thought that the fact that they revealed more of the scope of the game, more of how you start on different paths. To me, this made me think, right, this could be a game, the one game in the last 4 or 5 years where I actually play through it twice.
Yeah, if nothing else, we know that there are 3 distinct paths that your character can go down. Right. So, looking at it as a Mass Effect fan, where there are 2 distinct paths that you can go down, I'm intrigued that I can pick this game up and say, I want to go down this path and play the game this way. I can then pick the game up again and play the game this way and play it down a different path. And then if I'm done with it, I can pick it up again and play it down a third path. Like that I'm really intrigued by.
By the time you've spent 200 hours playing those first 2, the patches that would have been released for your third playthrough will make it look amazing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's a nice thing about playing it before those patches, because then you can actually see a difference as opposed to playing it with all those improvements from the get-go.
I was really impressed with what they showed. It was very highly scripted, which made it feel a bit stilted.
Yeah.
So I'd give it a minus. There's nothing in that game, or there's nothing in the presentation that makes me think that game is going to be anything other than amazing. And it's just started raining.
I love the fact that they saved that whole new desert area that's outside of the city. Never mentioned it until this presentation. But you have a whole wasteland. That's so awesome.
Yeah, but you start there if you're a nomad, which is cool as well. So you can either start in the city, or you have to start outside and find a way in, which sounds cool as well.
Yeah.
Right, before we go on the thing,
slums.
starting build for everyone.
Corporate.
I'm going to go corporate as well.
Oh man.
I'm between Street Kid and corporate, but I don't know which one.
I'm probably gonna go corporate. I'm really surprised that McWalmel's corporate.
Why is that?
Well, because of what I know about you outside of here.
I'm going to be my own cyberpunk Jeff Bezos.
It's like, but maybe McWomble's going to rage against the machine.
Well, it seems like you have to. It seems you get betrayed by your own corporation, so you need to get. It's actually a revenge mission against the corporate beast. Yeah, I was, like I said, I was really impressed with what they showed, but there is no way that I'm going to pre-order it. There is no way that I'm going to play it on a PS4 Pro.
Me neither.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
This is going to be a next-gen game for me. Absolutely.
Yep. Me too.
I'm going to play it on current gen. I'm going to have to rate the conference or like the presentation probably around a C. Only because they spent so much time on the detective shit.
That's why, my grade as well.
You know, I think it was too much time. I just need to know that that's an option, and leave it alone after that. But they spent so much fucking time on it.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same side as Matt. I would give it a C minus. Oh no, sorry, B minus. I'm not as low as Matt. A B minus for that reason, because the detective mode I was just bored. Too long.
Did anybody else like the developer that was talking about the game? I thought that guy was freaking. Yeah, Pavel. I thought that guy was freaking great. I loved him so much.
What was with that notebook? Because it was like it didn't make any sense. Like,
at one point he started going on about how he did yoga.
Code in it? Because
Yeah.
they hide the code.
He'd made all his notes in it, but then he'd very meticulously scrubbed them all out.
Scrabbled them all out. Yeah, I like that. That was amazing.
And
He'd, like, all his notes about the story and he scrubbed them all out.
I'm expecting a Polygon article on how there's a code in it, because Polygon always seems to reveal the codes. Like there's a code. Like no other outlet I've seen.
I did think it was quite funny where we need a notebook for a serial killer. Pavel, come use yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So do we want to score the Avengers one? C. Distinctly average.
C minus.
D.
I want to apply the same logic as I did with the Cyberpunk event, not on what I think of the game, but like its structure and the things that they shown. I think they shown a lot more of the game, so maybe a B plus. Yeah, but
I have to compare mine to my other grades so far, and it was probably better than EA, which got a U. So I'd probably give it a D.
Nice.
So there we go.
Love it.
Yeah, so none of us are going to pre-order.
No.
Either.
Well, unless one of the next gen consoles launches before the game comes out, then I might pre-order.
I'll probably just pick it up day one. I might not pre-order. I think there'll be enough copies.
The game itself isn't going anywhere. It's the consoles that you're risking not being able to get a hold on. So,
I think the game's going to slip. I think it might slip to next year.
Don't say that.
I don't think it will.
My entire
we'll have fantasy draft.
fantasy league is basing on that game.
And my game's already long gone, so I don't care if it slips.
I'm already sweating thinking Sports Story is not coming out.
So I don't mind if it slips because I'll probably still be playing Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh yeah, that's it. And then Spider-Man at launch. Like, of course, if you get a PS5 at launch. Yeah. Is Ratchet and Clank a launch title?
Nobody knows yet.
No,
They
it's
didn't say.
2021.
We don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it is. It's on my fantasy draft.
Join the club, Liam.
Right. Is that enough? Do we need to tell everyone the pre-order bonuses for next week's episode?
Maybe.
Oh, we've done that. It's your gifs of Matt doing emotes. Fucking emotes.
Should we start working on those? I can work on.
I and choose your attitude in the game, and Iron Man's doing a gun dance. What the fuck? Not only can you pick your outfit, you can also pick your attitude. Iron Man's doing a gun dance.
Anybody that wants to fucking turn those into gifts, I'm down. Let's get those gifts down. Let's get those gifts done.
Right. Thanks for listening, tuning in. Did anyone tune in? Probably not.
Yeah, my buddy Ross jumped in to the chat. So we did have a viewer. We had a viewer. Single viewer.
Woo.
He
can have a free GIF.
The audio version is doing really well. So
really?
Nice.
Yeah, that's people seem to like us on iTunes and Spotify.
So they have to see our ugly.
Well, that's because I said for all of us to go and give us 5-star ratings.
Is that what happened? Damn it.
Yeah.
No.
Why do you have to jinx it, dude? I was feeling so good about it.
Well, I think a lot of it. You can't judge people on. You can't rate people on Spotify from what I've seen. But literally, all my friendship group, I've just said, go on there and watch me.
Yeah.
Listen to my gaming podcast.
It's really interesting, honest.
And on that note, gentlemen, we're out.
Cool. Well, that's it, guys. Start my day. The beer review has been delayed now. I don't know if you saw that. It's the first beer idea that all of us have got. It seems a shame to do it without one of us.
And I need to go and get ready for this viewing. Hopefully, this time, someone might actually want to buy this fucking house.